Sunlit motes drifted through the amber glow of late day as Clara Hensley leaned against the railing of her veranda, taking in the sagging planks and flaking varnish of what had once been her grandmother's joy. The modest valley cabin had known brighter seasons, not unlike Clara herself. At 61, the creases around her eyes mapped equal parts laughter and loss. The patched shingles and splintered stairs were merely the newest lines in a tale that felt close to its final page. Then she spotted him, a slight silhouette plodding along the gravel lane, shoeless over the jagged stones, a frayed satchel his sole belonging. His resolute gaze locked with hers when he halted at the foot of her stairs. What could draw a child so young to her threshold, miles from any town? Clara guided Eli upstairs after supper, each timber tread groaning under their weight. The noise reminded her how rare it was for any footfall but her own to cross this rise. Eli trailed close, his glance sweeping the yellowed paper and grimy portraits that climbed the wall. "I haven't entertained company in ages," Clara confessed, easing open the door to the guest room. A fine film of dust coated every surface, the nightstand, the bureau, the blankets still folded at the bed's end. From the corridor came the low, solemn toll of her grandmother's mantel clock, 8 measured strokes that seemed to flood the hushed house with yesterdays. "That belonged to my grandmother," Clara said, catching Eli's turn toward the chime. "Kept time here for nearly a century. Outlasted me by a good margin." Eli dipped his head in quiet respect. "It feels like it matters." Clara's smile warmed at the remark. Some things only grow dearer with years. She crossed to the window and slid it upward, inviting the crisp, ridge breeze inside. "This was my son's room once, long ago." "You have a son?" Eli asked, lowering his satchel to the floorboards with care. "Nathan. He's in the city now. Has his own path." Clara's voice carried an unspoken weight, but she left it there. "Bathroom's at the end of the hall. Fresh toothbrush in the cabinet, still sealed." Eli perched on the mattress edge. "Thank you, ma'am. This is awfully kind." Clara studied the boy, his courteous words and guarded eyes. "Where did you figure on laying your head tonight if I hadn't opened the door?" He lifted a shoulder. "I'd have managed. I always do." The calm certainty unsettled her more than any sob could have. "How long have you been fending for yourself, Eli?" His fingers worried a frayed stitch on the quilt. "A spell." Clara, since pressing, would only close the door tighter. "Not tonight." "Well, you're safe here now. Sleep. We'll speak come morning." Later, sliding beneath her own covers, Clara found herself straining for any stir from the spare room. The cabin felt altered with another heartbeat inside, less hollow, yet somehow more brittle, as though the beams themselves paused mid-breath. She was drifting off when she heard it, a stifled whimper, then another. Without a thought, she snatched her shawl and padded down the passage. Eli thrashed amid the linens, face twisted, small fists knotted against some phantom foe. "Eli," she murmured from the doorway. "Eli, come awake." His eyes snapped open, wide with terror, then softened as memory returned. "I'm sorry," he rasped. "Nothing to apologize for," Clara soothed, staying back. She knew crowding him would only sharpen the fear. "Nightmares aren't ours to command." Eli drew his knees tight to his chest. Moonlight spilled through the open pane, painting indigo across his frame. "Did I wake you?" "I was up anyway," she fibbed. "Warm milk?" "My mother swore it chased bad dreams." Eli shook his head. "I'm all right. Thank you, ma'am." Clara lingered, reading the gentle refusal. "If you need anything, I'm just beyond that wall." She turned, but his small voice stopped her. "They were trying to take my satchel," he whispered. "In the dream?" He nodded. "It's all I've got left." The mantel clock marked the seconds with steady patience, anchoring the fragile trust suspended between them. "No one will take a thing from you here, Eli," Clara vowed. "Rest now." Back in her room, Clara stared at the ceiling long after the cabin had settled into stillness. What was she doing? Opening her door to a child she knew nothing about. She had no clue what his past held. Who might be searching for him? What shadows might trail behind? "Just a few days," she murmured to the dark, "until I sort it out." But in the marrow of her bones, Clara already felt the truth. This quiet, fierce boy with his bad dreams and frayed satchel had slipped into a hollow place inside her that would ache empty if he ever left. Clara woke to the soft clatter of activity below. For a heartbeat, still fogged with sleep, she wondered if she'd left the latch unhooked. Then memory returned. She cinched her shawl and padded to the kitchen, half braced to find the back door ajar and the boy vanished with whatever a child might deem treasure. Instead, through the pane she saw Eli in the yard, stacking fallen limbs beside the kindling shed, the dawn light gilding his dark hair as he worked with steady purpose, barefoot on the cool, wet grass. Clara watched a moment before easing the screen door open. "You're an early riser." Eli straightened, wiping palms on his trousers. "Yes, ma'am. Hope that's fine. More than fine. Come eat before you starve yourself." Over oatmeal and toast, Clara studied her small guest. In daylight, the hollows beneath his eyes stood sharper, his shoulders narrower than she'd guessed. "I thought we might make a list," Clara said, setting down her mug, "of everything the cabin needs." Eli nodded at once. "I saw the downspouts are clogged, and the south windowsills have rot." Clara lifted a brow. "You caught all that yesterday?" "I like knowing how things break," Eli answered, solemn, "and how to set them right." After breakfast, they circled the cabin together. Eli carried a scrap of paper torn from his satchel, jotting notes in tidy script. Clara pointed out troubles she'd ignored for seasons: the leaning veranda posts, the cracked dormer pane, the drip in the downstairs sink. "This'll take more than a few days," Clara said as the list lengthened. Eli glanced up, worry pinching his face. "I can stay long as you need help, ma'am." The offer hovered between them, thick with things unsaid. "We'll see," Clara replied evenly. "First, supplies." Back inside, at the table, Eli turned their rambling notes into neat columns. Priority, room, materials, topped in careful capitals. Hensley cabin repairs. "You've done this before," Clara observed. His pencil stilled. "A man I stayed with once owned rentals. I helped." The Dodge was playing, but before Clara could nudge, a car door thunked outside. Through the glass, she saw her neighbor Ruth easing from her battered pickup, foil-covered pan in hand. "That's Ruth Carver," Clara said quickly. "She brings me cobbler every Monday, though I've begged her off it." Eli's spine straightened, gaze flicking to the rear exit like a cornered deer. "She's harmless," Clara soothed, "but nosy as a squirrel. She'll ask questions." "What do I say?" Eli's voice shrank. Clara paused, the moment heavy. Truth wasn't simple when she didn't own the whole of it. "For now, you're my grandnephew. Here for spell." The lie tasted odd. "Until we know more." Eli nodded, accepting the cover with the ease of someone practiced at borrowed names. Ruth's knock sounded sharp. As Clara stepped toward the door, Eli's whisper followed. "Ma'am, thank you. What's your last name, ma'am?" "In case she asks." "Hensley," Clara answered, the name landing heavier than she expected. Ruth's voice barreled in the moment the latch clicked. "Clara Hensley, I was fixin' to send a search party. Who's the little fella?" Eli had already slid half a step behind her, a wary shadow. "This is Eli, my grandnephew. Here for a spell, lending a hand with repairs." Ruth's brows shot up like startled birds. "Well, ain't that sweet? Deputy Harlan was just jawing yesterday how this old place could use a man's eye." "Eli's I'll do fine, Ruth." Clara took the foil-wrapped pan. "Appreciate the cobbler. We're tallying supplies for town." "Supplies?" Ruth crowed. "Organized as a church picnic. Speaking of, the Ridge Watch is jumpy. Word's out about a runaway from over in Cresthaven. Deputies poking around." Eli's breath hitched. Clara felt it against her sleeve. "Imagine that," Clara said evenly. "We best get back to our list." "Thanks again." Door shut, she turned. Eli's face had gone the color of ash, pencil trembling between his fingers. "Will the deputy come here?" Clara glanced at the neat columns under Hensley cabin repairs. "Today we fix what's in front of us. One nail at a time." After lunch, she said, "I know where the tools sleep." Eyes on the small shed at the yard's edge. She hadn't crossed its threshold since Thomas died. Eli kept his polite distance across the grass. The warped door squealed open. Spiders scattered like spilled pepper. Sunlight knifed through the gloom, stirring dust into slow gold spirals. "Over there," Clara nodded toward a tarp-draped lump. Thomas's box. Together they tugged the canvas free. A walnut chest gleamed beneath, brass hinges, lid carved with a simple vine. The wood had deepened to coffee with years of hand oil. Burned into the front, TWH. It's perfect, Eli breathed, fingers hovering. Clara's throat tightened. Thomas built it. Said good tools deserved a good house. She lifted the lid. Compartments cradled each piece. Chisels aligned like silverware, block planes nested in felt, hammers graduated by weight, screwdrivers with rosewood handles worn satin smooth. May I? Clara nodded. Eli lifted a small, smoothing plane, testing its balance with the gravity of a jeweler. For truing wood, he murmured, setting it back exactly. Master's kit. Thomas never claimed master, Clara said. Just loved the grain. Built our table, the porch swing, taught me to swing a hammer without cursing the lumber. She drew out a cracked leather belt, memory flaring. Thomas's patient grip over hers. Asterisk light tap to seat the nail, then let the hammer fall straight. Tool does the work, Claire Bear. You just steer, asterisk. He was a patient teacher, she said aloud. Eli's eyes flicked up. Your husband? Yes, said pride, was the only thing that kept folks from learning. She brushed the belt. He'd have liked you. Eli ducked his head. Someone taught me once. For a while. Kin. He traced a chisel's bevel. A man I stayed with. He built things. Said I had steady hands. Eli's voice thinned. He was kind. What happened? Clara asked, soft as a hell breath. Eli shrugged, the same shield he always raised. Moved again, Clara thought. Foster system. The edges were aligning. The polished courtesy, the bone-deep fatigue, the silence around family. Well, she said, hefting the walnut chest with a grunt. These tools have been napping long enough. Time they earned their keep. Together they lugged it to the veranda and set it down like an offering. Eli flipped open their list, startlingly thorough for a single morning. Gutters first, he said, before the next rain. Claire nodded, impressed. Sound plan. But first, she vanished inside and came back with 2 pairs of gloves. Thomas's, comically large, and her own canvas ones still oversized on Eli's wrists. Safety first. Eli worked the leather over his fingers. For an instant, Clara saw Thomas's hands ghosted over the boys. Same deliberate care, same quiet certainty. Let me show you the ladder, she said, banishing the memory. Then you tell me what you know about wood. They braced the extension against the south wall. Eli's early wariness melted into concentration as she explained the locks and angles. The man who taught me, he said suddenly, said wood carries its own history. When you shape it, you're joining the story, not rewriting it. Clara smiled. Thomas's exact words, warmed by another voice. He was wise. For the time I had him, Eli murmured, eyes on the chest. By Wednesday, the supply list demanded a town run. Over oatmeal, Clara watched Eli's shoulders knot when she announced it. Lumber for the posts, roofing nails, caulk for the sills. She paused. You can stay if you'd rather. Eli nudged his spoon. I should help carry. His duty tugged at her. Will be useful, but no shame in staying. He shook his head. I'll come. The drive down to Ridgeford was quiet. Eli sat bolt upright, satchel hugged to his chest despite Clara's promise it was safe at home. Late spring sun painted the hills emerald as the old pickup rattled along the switchbacks. Pretty country, Clara tried. Spring's stubborn up here, but it shows up spectacular. Eli nodded, gaze on the blur of trees. Smells different than the city. First breadcrumb he dropped. Ridgeford's main drag looked frozen in 1982. Feed store, diner, bank, all wearing the same faces, only younger now. Grandkids minding counters their grandparents once ruled. Grayson's lumber and hardware lot held a scatter of pickups. Eli hung at the door, scanning drivers. Ben Grayson solid, Clara said. Known him since he was knee-high. Inside, the air was thick with cedar shavings and linseed. Eli stuck to her elbow, eyes climbing shelves of bolts and blades. Clara Hensley. Ben's voice boomed from the register. Twice in a month. Must be a new record. Ben grinned, leaning on the counter. Afternoon, Ben, Clara said. sliding their list forward. Big order today. Ben's eyes flicked to Eli. And who's the assistant? Eli, Clara answered, leaving the rest unsaid. Helping with overdue fixes. Ben's sun-leathered face softened. About time that cabin got some love. He turned to Eli. Know your way around a hammer, son? Eli met his gaze straight. Yes, sir. A bit. Then let's see what you've got. Customers came and went. The bell's jingle made Eli flinch each time. Clara rested a hand on his shoulder. Thin as a sparrow's wing beneath cotton. Lumber chosen, smalls gathered, Ben rang the total. Clara's pen hovered over her checkbook. Tell you what, Ben said, reading her pause. Half now, half when the job's done. Robert pulled me out of the O2 flood, roof, walls, the works. Never forgot it. Outside, while Ben and his boy loaded the pickup, Clara steered Eli across to the mercantile. Fluorescent glare and crowded aisles set him on edge. He tracked every shopper. Near the register, a rack of caps caught her eye. You need one, she said, snagging a plain navy. Can't have you frying on the roof. Eli opened his mouth to object. She was already setting it on the counter with their odds and ends. First new thing she'd given him. Waiting in line, Eli's stare fixed on the corkboard by the door. Clara followed it to a missing child flyer, freckled redhead, maybe 11. Relief and shame twisted inside her. Relief it wasn't Eli, shame that relief existed. Deputy's been stapling those up daily, the clerk said. Boy vanished from a foster placement in Crest Haven. Fourth this year. Eli edged closer to Clara's side. Tragic, she murmured, paying fast. Outside, sunlight felt harsh after the store's dim. Clara handed Eli the cap. He settled it carefully, fingers brushing the bill like it might vanish. Looks right, she said, voice steady despite the poster's echo. Keeps the sun off while we patch the shingles. Eli gave a small nod, almost smiling. Thank you, ma'am. On the drive home, he watched the mirrors as if chased. The cap stayed planted, a blue banner of something like belonging. We've got what we need, Clara said into the quiet. Porch starts tomorrow. Eli nodded, satchel still on his lap, but shoulders easing as Ridgeford shrank behind them. Ben took to you, she added. He was kind, Eli said softly. Then, after a beat, is the deputy looking for me? The question hung sharp. Clara's knuckles whitened on the wheel. I don't know, Eli. Should he be? Eli turned to the window. The question drifted unanswered, and Clara let the miles swallow it. Some questions needed time and trust before they could be answered. The next morning broke cloudless and warm, ideal for porch work. Eli was already outside when Clara stepped onto the veranda. Navy cap tilted against the sun, boards sorted into tidy stacks. You're up with the birds, she said, offering a glass of apple juice. Yes, ma'am. Like to start early, he answered, taking it with both hands. They worked in steady rhythm, prying loose the rotten posts, measuring twice, cutting once. Eli's small hands guided the saw with a sureness that made Clara's chest ache. By noon, the new uprights stood plumb and proud. She was slicing cheese when gravel crunched. Through the screen, she saw the tan and gold cruiser ease into the yard. Eli, she called, voice calm, company. He appeared in the doorway, face shuttered, body angled toward the back hall. The cruiser's logo froze him. Just Deputy Harlan, Clara said, though her pulse kicked. He makes the rounds. Eli nodded once, eyes locked on the approaching figure. Deputy Lee Harlan moved like a man who'd never met a hurry he couldn't outwait. He took off his hat as Clara opened the door. Afternoon, Clara. Lee. T. Don't mind if I do. He stepped inside, gaze sweeping the fresh lumber. Place is looking sharp. Long overdue? She agreed, motioning him in. Eli hovered half behind the fridge, a wary silhouette. Harlan's eyes found him at once. And who's this? Clara felt the lie settle heavier. Eli, my grandnephew. Harlan's brows lifted a fraction. Nathan's boy. She nodded, the untruth sticking in her throat. Visiting, helping with the cabin. Harlan offered a big, calloused hand. Pleasure, Eli. Treating your aunt right. Eli stepped forward, shook with solemn courtesy. Yes, sir. Good manners, Harlan told Clara approvingly. She poured tea, back turned to hide the strain. When she faced him again, Harlan was unfolding a flyer on the table. Clara's stomach dropped, then eased. The photo was a freckled redhead, maybe 8. Putting these up countywide, Harlan said. Tyler Grayson, foster placement in Crest Haven. 9 last week. Still missing. Clara studied the small, solemn face. Saw another poster yesterday. That was the Dorsey kid. Turn up safe, thank God. This one's still out there. Harlan looked to Eli. Seen any strange kids wandering, son? Anyone who doesn't belong? Eli shook his head. No, sir. 3rd runaway in 6 months, Harlan said, voice low. Systems bursting. Kids get scared, bolt. He fixed Eli with a kind, but searching look. Where'd you say you're from, Eli? Raleigh, Clara cut in smoothly. Clara added, Nathan figured fresh air would straighten him out. Harlan nodded, satisfied. City's no place to raise a boy, far as I'm concerned. He finished his tea and rose. Gotta keep moving. Just wanted eyes open for Tyler. He tipped his hat. Porch looked solid, Clara. Good team. We're getting there, she said, walking him out. The cruiser rolled away. Clara found Eli staring at the flyer, sandwich untouched. It's not you, she said softly. Eli's eyes lifted, questions trembling behind them. If there's something you need to say, Eli, I'll listen. No rush. He touched the navy bill of his cap like a talisman. Can we work now? Rails it is. Clouds stacked overnight. Rain drummed the roof by first light. Eli stood at the window, disappointment plain. No porch today, Clara said, setting the kettle. No, ma'am, he echoed. The mantel clock struck 7, its lone notes filling the hush. A week since he'd arrived. Meals and labor in easy cadence, but the gaps between words still wide. Rain's good for thinking, Clara said, sliding cocoa across the table. Or resting. Eli cupped the mug. What'll we do? Inside jobs, sanding frames. Or, she paused, we could talk. Or look at pictures. Show you this cabin when it was young. Interest sparked. It's always been yours. Not always. Great-granddad's first, then my folks, then me. Built in 1934. After breakfast, she pulled a cracked leather album from the shelf. They settled on a couch, rain ticking the panes. This was great-granddad, Clara said, tapping a photo. Stern man, arms folded before raw pine walls. Silas Hensley. Folks called him C. Framed it with his cousins, every nail by hand. Eli leaned in. He looks proud. He was. She turned the page. See wife for kids on the new steps. My pa's the little one, knee scraped. You favor your grandma, Eli said. Clara smiled. Mama swore it. She traced the years. Porch added in 47. Pa home from the Pacific. Grandma's roses along the walk. Then a sun-bleached shot. Gap-toothed girl in overalls. Stringer of trout by the creek. That's me, 10. Eli studied it. You look happy. I was. This ridge was the whole universe. She brushed the photo. Couldn't picture leaving. But you did. College. Couple years in Raleigh. Met Thomas there. She turned to their wedding picture. Clara in a plain lace dress. Thomas grinning beside her. Both impossibly young. Thomas tall and grinning in his navy suit. Both of them on the same veranda they were now rebuilding. We came home after my folks passed, Clara said. Thomas taught shop at the high school. Planned to fill these rooms with kids. Eli glanced up. Your son, Nathan? Our only one. Clara's gaze drifted. He never took to the ridge like I did. Too still, too far. Left for college and kept going. Rain hammered the tin roof, sealing them in warmth and old light. Eli traced the cabin's outline in a faded photo. I never stayed anywhere long, he offered, small and deliberate. Clara kept her tone light. Longest stretch. 2 years, maybe. The Carters. A flicker of pain. That was good. Why'd you leave? Mr. Carter got sick. Cancer. Couldn't keep me. Flat words, but Clara heard the fracture beneath. That's hard, she said softly. He shrugged the old armor. She turned to the album's final pages. Paint shades shifting, flower beds shrinking, the cabin aging in gentle increments. I pictured Nathan's kids chasing fireflies here, fishing the creek, making the place theirs. Do you have any? Clara shook her head. Work first, he says. Always running. She closed the book. We don't talk much. Eli stared at the rain-streaked glass. Why not? The question landed clean. Different roads, Clara sighed. Different ideas of home. Silence settled. Easy now, a small span bridged. I could teach you to fish, she said suddenly. When the sun comes back. Trout still jump in that creek. Eli's smile broke rare and bright. I'd like that. Outside, the rain kept its patient drum, rinsing the world for whatever grew next. 3 cloudless days later the porch stood proud, new cedar rails glowing against the cabin's silver clapboards. Clara stepped back, hands on hips, Eli beside her, pocket stuffed. Your verdict? It's good, he said, pride quiet but real. Needs paint, though. White like always. But first, she tipped her chin to the roof, where shingles gapped like missing teeth. We climbed before the next storm. Eli's gaze followed. His shoulders drew in. Clara had seen the flicker before, every time the roof came up. Now it was plain fear. Steep pitch, she admitted. We'll rope up. He nodded, jaw tight. In the shed she dug through Thomas's old gear. Nylon line, carabiners, a harness small enough to cinch on Eli. Thomas climbed summers, she said, till his knees quit. Ran the high school rope course. Back at the eaves, she extended the ladder. I'll set the anchor first. She tugged on Thomas's battered gloves, leather molded to hands long gone, but still guiding hers. Eli watched her climb, worry creasing his face. Be careful. Clara ascended slowly, the ladder flexing under her boots. At the ridge, she clipped the rope to the brick chimney, knotting it twice. From the peak, the valley spilled away in green waves, the creek a silver ribbon far below. She understood why Thomas had chased heights. Your turn, she called. Eli set one foot on the rung, then froze. I can't. Clara descended. What's wrong? I don't do heights, he whispered, ashamed. Nothing wrong with that. She studied him. But the roof won't fix itself. Let me make a call. 20 minutes later, a dented blue pickup rattled in. A tall kid in a faded plaid shirt climbed out. Miss Hensley, he said. Ma said you needed muscle. Thanks for coming, Caleb. This is Eli. Caleb Carver, Ruth's 17-year-old, offered a hand. Hey, man. Eli shook it, measuring. Roof needs patching, Clara explained. I'll take the high work with Caleb. Eli, you run ground crew. Tools, shingles, bucket on the rope. Eli's relief was instant, though his eyes never left them. The system clicked. Eli kept the bucket loaded, anticipated every request, sent up nails before they were asked for. From the roof, Clara heard his clear voice. Hammers coming. Watch the swing. By mid-afternoon, the shingles were seated, flashing sealed. Heat shimmered off the tin. Clara called a break. They climbed down. Caleb vaulted the last 4 rungs. In the kitchen, Eli poured lemonade. Clara fetched Thomas's gloves, cracked, pale with age, and held them out. These belong in use, not a box. Eli's eyes widened. They're his. He want them working. She handed over scissors and an awl. Let's fit them. She punched new holes in the straps. Eli watched every move. Adjusted, the gloves swallowed his hands, but the wrists cinched snug. Fingers are long, she said. Fold and stitch. Eli flexed, grinning at the floppy thumbs. Thank you. Caleb drained his glass. Place looks brand new. Eli's a pro down there. Both boys straightened. Back outside, they finished strong. By dusk, the roof was tight, the valley quiet except for crickets. Next rain won't find a leak, Clara declared, coiling rope. Caleb pocketed his pay with a nod and rolled out. Eli stood in Thomas's gloves, oversized but claimed, watching the truck disappear. Caleb paused at his truck. Fishing derby at the creek next Saturday. You ought to come. Eli glanced at Clara, uncertain. We'll see, she answered, sensing he wasn't ready for crowds. After Caleb left, they settled on the fresh steps, sun low and golden. I'm sorry I couldn't climb, Eli said suddenly. Everyone's at a cliff, Clara replied. What counts is building a bridge around it. Eli flexed Thomas's gloves. They feel full of good days. They are. Thomas said, hands on what kept him honest. Eli nodded. Then the word slipped out before he could catch it. Grandma. He froze. Clara's heart folded, then opened. I don't mind, she said softly. He ducked his head, cheeks pink, but the air between them felt lighter, stitched together by something new. A firm knot cut through lunch. Eli's sandwich halted halfway to his mouth. Clara opened to a trim woman, silver threading her dark hair, sensible flats on the new boards. "Mrs. Hensley," she said with a practiced smile. "Ellen Harper, Ridgeford Elementary." Clara placed her, third-grade teacher when Nathan was small. "Miss Harper, come in." Ellen's gaze slid past to Eli in the doorway. "And this must be the grandnephew folks mention." Clara felt the lie itch. "Eli, yes. Staying a bit." Ellen addressed him directly, teacher voice gentle but firm. "Hello, Eli. Couple weeks now, I hear." He nodded, wary. "Ellen's principal these days," Clara explained, ushering her to the table. Coffee poured, Ellen cut to it. "Word travels. Long visit, no school. I'm concerned about credits." Clara's mind scrambled. "Temporary. His mom, my niece, is sorting some things." Ellen's sympathy was real but professional. "Still, if he's here past a month, we need enrollment or approved homeschool." Clara opened her mouth. Eli spoke first, quiet but steady. "We've been doing local history and math, measuring lumber, angles, load weights." Ellen turned, intrigued. "History? Which era?" "Depression years," Eli said without pause. "How mountain towns bartered patched roofs, kept going." Clara stared, pride flaring. The boy had listened to every story, every offhand fact, and woven it into armor. "Sophisticated choice," Miss Harper said. "What sources?" Eli flicked a glance at Clara, then answered. "Grandma's albums, old stories, books from the shelf." The word grandma landed deliberate now, no accident. Clara felt warmth bloom in her ribs. Miss Harper set her mug down. "Temporary or not, homeschooling means paperwork. Lesson logs, state guidelines, quarterly reviews." Clara swallowed. "We'll handle it." After Miss Harper left, armed with the promise of office forms, Clara found Eli in the den, scanning spines with purpose. "Quick on your feet," she said. "Mr. Carter taught history," Eli said, sliding a faded textbook free. "Loved boom and bust cycles." Clara sank into Thomas's cracked leather chair. "Eli, about school, and how long you stay." His fingers stilled. "You want me gone?" "No." The answer came fierce and instant. "But staying means rules. Legal ones." He sat opposite, book a shield on his lap. "How much school have you had?" "Depends. Some homes kept up, some didn't." He shrugged, the gaps plain. "Favorites? Math, science, how things fit." He traced the spine. "Reading's hard. Letters swap." "Dyslexia," Clara said. "Thomas had it. Didn't make him less brilliant, just needed different roads." Hope flickered. "Really?" Clara rose, pulled workbooks, old lesson plans, novels Thomas had marked for struggling readers. "We'll build a curriculum. I lived with a teacher 25 years. I learned a thing or two." "Are we really doing school?" Eli asked. "Why not?" She stacked the books like bricks for a new room. "But eventually we face the rest, your situation, paperwork, making it real." Fear shadowed his eyes. "They'll send me back. Not if I can help it. But we can't live halfway forever." Eli nodded, shoulders easing a fraction. "Study, fix the cabin, figure the rest later." "Deal." She reached for the old rotary phone. "I'll call Nathan, get advice." Eli watched, curious and wary, as she dialed. Voicemail clicked. "Nathan, it's Mom. Something big. Call when you can." Clara set the receiver down and felt the unanswered questions settle like dust. But Eli was already cracking the history book, jaws set, and she knew they'd keep moving. One lesson, one board, one sunrise. She sensed trouble the instant she woke to silence. 3 weeks in, Eli had never slept past first light. The cabin felt hollow without his soft footfalls and the clink of glass being set just so. She found him curled tight beneath the quilt her great-aunt had pieced, faded rings of indigo and cream that had warmed 4 generations. His cheeks blazed, hair stuck to his forehead in damp curls. "Eli," she murmured from the doorway. He stirred, eyes glassy. "Sorry, overslept. I'll—" He tried to sit. She was there in 2 strides, palm to his shoulder. "Stay. You're on fire." "I'm fine," he croaked, then sagged back. The old mercury thermometer read 102.4. Clara's heart dipped. Just water, he breathed as she laid a cool cloth across his brow. In the big bed, he looked impossibly small, every guard stripped by fever. Juice, children's ibuprofen, left from Nathan's last migraine years ago. Fresh cloths, sips cokes between cracked lips. By noon, the mercury climbed to 103.2. He drifted in and out, muttering fragments Clara couldn't catch. She read Treasure Island aloud, voice low, until his eyes snapped open, wild. Don't let them take me, he begged, fingers clamping hers. No one's taking you, she promised, smoothing sweat-dark hair. Promise. Promise. When the fever held stubborn, she bundled him into the truck, pajamas, quilt, head against the cool window. The 20-minute drive to Dr. Harlan's clinic felt endless. The waiting room was empty. The receptionist, who'd known Clara since pigtails, raised a brow at the boy but waved them straight through. Dr. Harlan's hair had gone full silver, but his hands were steady. Flu's tearing through Ridgeford Elementary, he said, peering into Eli's ears. Congested lungs, borderline pneumonia. Antibiotics to be safe. He glanced over his glasses. Allergies? Records? Clara's stomach nodded. Staying with me short term. Family, transition. Harlan didn't pry. Any allergies you know of, Eli? Weak shake of the head. Dr. Harlan scribbled the scripts. Fluids, rest, watch the lungs. Fever spikes or breathing turns rough, straight back here. As the nurse eased Eli's shoes on, Harlan drew Clara aside. Clara, I don't need the whole story. But is the boy in trouble? He's safe with me, she said, meeting his eyes. That's what counts. Harlan studied her, then nodded. Day or night, you call. Back home, she settled Eli in her own bed, closer for night watches. First dose down, she sat vigil. Lamplight painted gold across his flushed cheeks. The worry line between his brows softened but never gone. 3 weeks, and he'd slipped into every corner of her days like sunlight through new shingles. He stirred, hand groping. She took it. He quieted at once. Not alone anymore, she whispered to the dark. She dozed upright in the old rocker, waking to every cough. Near dawn, the fever broke, sheets soaked, skin cool. She helped him into dry pajamas. You stayed, he said, voice hoarse but clear, surprise in it. Course I stayed. That's what you do. He mulled that. Group homes at a sick room. Door shut. Alone. The flat words lodged like splinters. She tucked the quilt, indigo rings, generations deep, around him. Not how we roll here. Sleep. I'm right outside. When he drifted off, the truth settled solid. Temporary was a lie she'd outgrown. This careful, wounded boy was now the center of her gravity. Recovery crawled. A week of short spurts, 10 minutes sanding, 20 napping, then lessons at the table between yawns. Tuesday, sun poured through the kitchen window. Clara sorted mail. A dentist reminder caught her eye. May already, she muttered. Eli measured flour for biscuits, precise as always. When's your birthday, Eli? His hands froze. May. I think. You think. Shrug. Papers say May 12th. Mrs. Dawson, one of the Holmes, thought April. Records got scrambled early. He leveled the flour with a knife back, matter of fact. Clara's chest tightened. A birthday mislaid, like a library book. So it might be soon. Maybe. He kept his eyes on the bowl. Not a big deal. But it was. Every child deserved one day that belonged only to them. Well, Clara said, casual as buttering toast. We'll celebrate just in case. Can't risk missing it. Eli's eyes widened, equal parts wonder and wariness. You don't have to. I want to. The plan sprouted while he napped. A quick call to Ruth, who squealed like a schoolgirl and promised to rally the ridge. Clara slipped to town, left a note. Back soon. Rest easy. Next morning, she was up before the roosters, chocolate batter swirling in a bowl. Eli patted in, hair tousled, nose twitching. Birthday cake, Clara announced, sliding the pan onto the rack. Today's the day. He stood rooted, emotions flickering too fast to name. Unless there's another birthday boy hiding in the pantry, she teased. After oatmeal, she handed him a small box wrapped in brown paper. He turned it like it might explode. Open it. Careful fingers peeled tape. Inside lay Thomas's old Swiss Army knife, blades honed, scales polished to a soft glow. Thomas carried it everywhere, Clara said. Said a good knife was half a toolbox. Eli unfolded each tool, reverent. Never had anything this fine. Voice thick. More coming. Patience. All day he grazed the knife in his pocket, used the small blade to slice carrots for supper with surgical care. Gravel crunched late afternoon. Eli stiffened at the window. Just friends, Clara soothed. Ruth bustled in first, casserole and gift. Then the Graysons with a hand-tied fly, Dr. Harlan with a tin of peppermints, Caleb waving a new lure. Miss Harper arrived with a stack of adventure paperbacks. Eli hovered, polite but overwhelmed, as they filled the porch with easy laughter. Clara watched him discover the strange gravity of being wanted. Twilight settled. They carried the frosted cake to the backyard table, candles flickering against the first stars. Make a wish. Eli shut his eyes a heartbeat, then blew every flame out in one fierce gust. Applause rose. His smile cracked wide open, unguarded. Later, kitchen quiet again, Eli bent over the table, knife flashing, shavings curling like wood smoke. Eyes closed. Clara obeyed. Something light scraped across the wood. Look, a small cedar bird rested in front of her, wings spread, every feather carved with the patience of new ownership. The little pine bird was rough-hewn but alive, wings caught mid-beat. It's for you, Eli said, solemn. Because you gave me a home. Before Clara could answer, tires crunched gravel. Eli's head snapped toward the window, every muscle locking. Clara opened the door to Deputy Harlan, face grave under the porch bulb. Evening, Clara. Need a word about the boy. Eli hovered in the hallway shadows, bird forgotten on the table. Harlan stepped in, hat in hand, and eased into Thomas's old chair. Happy birthday, Eli, he said gently. Got something you both should see. He unfolded a newspaper clipping and laid it on the coffee table. Cresthaven Foster Home, closed after abuse claims. 6 children removed. 1 boy, approximate 12, dark hair, slight build, still missing. Clara read aloud, voice thinning. Hard labor in freezing weather, screams reported. Eli went white, knees buckling. Clara caught him, hand on his shoulder. That the place you left? She asked. Are you sending me back? Eli's whisper cracked. Harlan shook his head. Blackwells are locked up. That house is done. But protocol says another placement. There's always another. Eli cut in fierce. They promise better. It never is. Clara knelt. Eli, tell us. All of it. The mantel clock struck 9, steady as a heartbeat. Eli's shoulders folded. Hot chocolate first, Clara said. Deputy, you'll stay? Wouldn't leave now. In the kitchen, she warmed milk, hands shaking but sure. When she carried the mugs back, Eli sat small against the couch cushions, knees drawn up, waiting. Eli held the mug like a lifeline, but didn't sip. For when I went in, he started, voice thin. Mom overdosed. Never had a dad. Clara sat close, giving him the whole couch to breathe. Millers were good. Taught me numbers, how to plant a board straight. Then Mr. Miller got sick. His throat worked. After that, mostly group homes. Some okay. Some. He shook his head. Then the Dawsons. Knuckles white on the mug. Big farm, pretty from the road. Mr. Dawson said idle hands were the devil's. Dawn to dark, feed, chop, haul. Slow once, belt across the back. His fingers drifted to faint scars Clara had seen when fever stripped him bare. Mrs. Dawson locked us in the root cellar. Days. Dark. Bread and water. Clara's rage was a silent storm. She kept her face still. Ran twice. They dragged me back. Last time, February, I heard them say I was going to the logging camp up north. Said I was unmanageable. Knew I wouldn't survive it. He looked up fierce. Climbed out in a sleet storm. Walked. Hitched when I could. Ended up here. Harlan's voice was soft. System supposed to keep kids safe, Eli. It doesn't. Eli cut in, fire cracking through exhaustion. Nobody wants a 12-year-old. Too old. Too much trouble. Clara's arm circled his shoulders. Not too much. Never. Harlan studied them. There are legal paths. Emergency guardianship. Foster license. Maybe adoption down the line. He lifted a palm at Clara's sharp inhale. I've seen the porch rails, the roof, the way you two move together. Families get built, not just born. Eli's eyes searched Clara's. You'd keep me. Clara saw the quiet house before him. Dust, silence, days bleeding together. Then the past month, laughter in the kitchen, the smell of sawdust and chocolate, the weight of a small hand in hers. Yes, she said, if you want to stay. Eli leaned into her, tension melting. I want to stay. Harlan rose. I know a caseworker who owes me coffee. We'll start the paperwork quiet-like. At the door he paused. It won't be easy, visits, questions, home study. Clara looked at Eli, already asleep against the cushions, bird carving clutched in one fist. Whatever it takes, she said. He's home. After Harlan's taillights vanished, Clara draped the quilt over Eli, watched his chest rise and fall, steady now. The house felt fuller, the nights softer, the future uncertain but no longer empty. The cedar bird perched on the mantel, wings forever open, no longer escaping, just flying. The envelope lay thick on Clara's desk, forms from Deputy Harlan. Emergency guardianship, background release, home study consent. The first official step down an unknown road. Looks like lawyer talk, Eli said, leaning in. Anything worth doing usually is, Clara answered, pen ready. She'd filled what she could, stalled where Eli's past went blank. We should call your son, Eli said. He's a lawyer, right? Clara exhaled. 3 unanswered voicemails to Nathan. Corporate keeps him buried. Or he's still mad about whatever stopped you talking, Eli said, blunt as a hammer. The phone rang, startling them both. Hello. Mom. It's Nathan. Clara's pulse jumped. Nathan. Got your messages. Sounded urgent. Everything okay? Complicated, but yes. She glanced at Eli, who pretended to sort nails. You still in Raleigh? Actually 20 minutes out. Tried you yesterday. Line busy all day. Clara winced. Harlan, then the caseworker. Been tied up. When will you get here? Passing Ridgeford's sign now. She hung up. Nathan's coming. 20 minutes. Eli's face shuddered. He know about me? Not the details. Just that I needed him. Should I disappear while you talk? No, Clara's voice left no room. This is about both of us. Eli nodded, equal parts steadied and scared. He vanished upstairs, returned with hair combed, cleanest shirt he owned, small gestures that pinched Clara's heart. Gravel announced the sleek gray sedan. Nathan unfolded from the driver's seat, tall, pressed shirt, city polish. The contrast with Clara's faded flannel and work boots was stark. He looks like you, Eli murmured. Used to hear that, Clara said, smile thin. Not lately. Nathan paused on the new porch boards, eyebrows lifting at the change, then knocked 3 clipped raps, nothing like the teenager who used to burst in shouting. Clara opened the door. Nathan, good to see you. Mom, polite, cautious. His gaze slid past to Eli, hovering by the living room arch. And this is... Eli, Clara said, moving beside the boy. He's been living here. Nathan's brows rose higher. Living here, helping fix the place, Clara said. We've made progress. Nathan's eyes swept the room. Fresh paint, tight floorboards, the hum of life where dust once ruled. I can see that, he allowed. But who exactly is he? Clara drew a breath. Eli needed a home. I've applied for emergency guardianship. Nathan's composure cracked. You've what? Eli shifted. I'll check the caulk on the sills. He slipped out the back. Nathan rounded on Clara. Mom, this is insane. A random kid? You know nothing about him. I know everything that matters, Clara said, calm as poured concrete. He's a good boy who's been hurt. Harlan and family services are involved. We're doing it right. Nathan paced, city shoes clicking on fresh boards. Their processes, background checks, psych evals, home studies. You're not 25. I raised you, Clara cut in gently. This house hasn't breathed like this in years. She lifted the cedar bird from the mantel. He carved this for me. Birthday gift. Nathan took it, thumb tracing a wing. It's good work. Still doesn't make this sane. It's not impulse. It's choice. Clara sat, took his hand, startling them both. He is my future, Nathan. Him and this place, turning broken into whole. Isn't that what matters? Nathan stared at their hands, then at the bird. I don't get it. It's so fast. Sometimes the big things are. She squeezed. Stay. Meet him. Then decide if it's a mistake. Through the window, Eli knelt in the garden beds, turning soil with the focus of a surgeon. He glanced up, saw them, hesitated, then lifted a cautious hand. Nathan's own hand rose, almost involuntary. I can stay for supper, he muttered. And look at the forms. Strictly professional. Clara smiled. A start. Nathan stayed the night in his old room. Morning found him at the kitchen table, papers fanned, red pen flying. Eli had been up since dawn, coaxing life into the long-neglected garden beds. You've been busy, Lisa said, glancing up from the forms. These are almost done. We're trying to do it right, Clara replied, setting down 2 mugs. How's it look? Lisa tapped her pen. Tough, but doable. Deputy Harlan's backing helps, and the Dawson place being shut down clears one hurdle. She hesitated. The house, though, home study will be brutal. You've come far, but... Clara followed her gaze to the cracked linoleum, the water-stained ceiling. We manage with what we have. It's not effort, Mom. It's code. Safety. Lisa's voice softened. I confront the cost. No, Clara's refusal was gentle steel. It's not charity. It's family. Lisa's eyes flicked to the window where Eli knelt, turning dark soil with careful hands. If he's family, I should pitch in. The words hung. Asterisk if he's family asterisk. A fragile rope bridge over years of silence. Gravel crunched. Ruth's pickup, then Ben Grayson's rig. More followed. Company, Lisa asked, stacking papers. Clara stepped onto the porch. Ruth marched up clipboard high. Clara Hensley, perfect. Workday starts now. Workday. Clara echoed. Ruth waved the board. Ridge Restoration Project. Sign-ups been at the church 3 days. 28 volunteers, 6 crews. Deputy Harlan pitched it at council. Clara scanned the list. Every Ridge family, tools, paint, lumber, lunches coordinated by Miss Harper. Eli appeared, dirt on his knees, eyes wide at the growing convoy. What's happening? He whispered, edging close. Seems the town's fixing our house, Clara said, stunned. Vehicles kept coming. Lumber, shingles, Dr. Harlan's son with a framing crew. The yard filled with hammers, laughter, purpose. Did you know? Clara asked Harlan when he arrived with coffee and a box of donuts. He shrugged, grinning. Dropped a word. Ridge takes care of its own. Lisa, still shell-shocked, asked why. Because your mom's been Ridge-born 40 years, Harlan said. And that boy out there turning soil like it's gold? He's Ridge now too. And now Eli is too. Caleb waved Eli over to the paint cans. Eli glanced at Clara, got a nod, and edged into the circle of teenagers. I don't know how to thank them, Clara murmured, eyes sweeping the yard alive with hammers and laughter. Start by pointing us at work, Nathan said, rolling crisp sleeves. By mid-morning, the Ridge rang with purpose. New shingles overhead, fresh drywall inside, paint rolling on like sunrise. Clara ferried water, gratitude spilling with every cup. She found Eli sanding trim beside Caleb, stroke steady. How you holding? She asked. Lots of people, he said, but they're kind, making the cabin strong. Why do you think? He paused. They care about you. A shy beat. Maybe a little about me. Exactly right. Across the lawn, Deputy Harlan spoke with a woman in a county blazer, notebook open, eyes on the house. Harlan caught Clara's gaze, tipped 2 fingers in salute. Who's that? Eli asked. Family Services, I'd bet. Seeing how the Ridge stands with us. Eli's sandpaper stilled. Good. Very. By dusk the cabin glowed. Tight roof, patched ceiling, white paint crisp against the hills. Martha herded everyone onto the new porch for a photo. Ridge folk shouldered shoulder around Clara, Nathan, Eli. This is what Ridges do, Nathan murmured as shutters clicked. Forgot how it felt, Clara said, squeezing his hand. Last truck gone, the 3 stood in the hush. What now? Eli asked, voice small but steady. Now, Clara said, an arm around each, we become family. June's sun baked the county courthouse, red brick and marble stern against the sky. Eli tugged his new shirt collar, tie crooked. You look sharp, Clara said, straightening it, smoothing the cowlick that refused to lie flat. Feels like dress up, he muttered. Only for today. Nathan strode up with Mr. Langford, old law school friend turned family court ace. Navy suit, calm eyes. Paperwork's tight, he said. We're ready. Emma's voice steadied as the words found their own rhythm. Sam arrived with nothing but a backpack and a story he wasn't ready to tell. I gave him a bed for one night. That night became 2, then weeks. In that time, he fixed more than the porch rails. He fixed me. He reminded me what hands are for, what mornings can feel like, what family means when it isn't blood. She glanced at Sam. His eyes shone, but he didn't look away. He's taught me patience, precision, and how loud laughter can echo in a house that's been quiet too long. I've taught him fractions with lumber cuts, history from photo albums, and that nightmares lose power when someone stays in the room. We're still learning, but we're learning together. Emma turned fully to the bench. Your Honor, I'm not asking to replace what was taken from him. I'm asking to give him what he's already chosen. A home that won't move him again, a table where his plate is always set, a future he can plan past next week. I can't promise perfection. I can promise permanence. And love. More than enough to fill every crack this old house still has. She sat. Sam's hand found hers under the table and squeezed once hard. Judge Wilson's gaze softened. Just a fraction. Samuel, she said gently, would you like to speak? Sam stood, tie slightly askew, voice small but clear. I've lived in 12 places before this one. None of them wanted me to stay. Miss Emma does. She makes pancakes on Tuesdays and lets me pick the radio station. She stayed when I was sick. She says I belong. He swallowed. I want to stay. Forever, if that's okay. The room held its breath. Judge Wilson closed her folder. Emergency guardianship is granted, effective immediately. Permanent guardianship hearing will be scheduled within 90 days. Ms. Matthews, you'll continue under supervision until then. Court adjourned. The gavel fell like a starting bell. Sam turned and buried his face in Emma's side. She felt the damp of tears through her dress and didn't care who saw. Outside, under the June sky, the Millerville witnesses surrounded them. Martha already planning a celebratory potluck, Dr. Winters promising yearly checkups, Miss Bennett slipping Sam a new library card. Lisa, Nathan in your version, stood a little apart, eyes shining, then stepped forward and rested a hand on Sam's shoulder. Welcome to the family, little brother, she said, voice thick. Sam looked up, startled, then grinned, the full, unguarded smile that transformed his face. Emma pulled them both close. The courthouse steps, the mountain air, the circle of neighbors, everything felt exactly the size a family ought to be. Emma read the name again, softer this time. Samuel James Harlow. Sam stared at the paper like it might vanish. That's me. That's you, she said, voice thick. Official and forever. Lisa leaned in, reading over their shoulders. May 10th, she confirmed. We were right on the cake. Sam traced a raised seal with one finger. Never had anything with my whole name on it before. Emma folded the certificate gently and slipped it into her purse. Now you do, and soon you'll have a new last name to match, if you want it. Sam's eyes snapped to hers. Matthews, if that feels like home, she said. He swallowed, nodded once, decisive. It already does. Sheriff Durham cleared his throat, eyes suspiciously bright. Paperwork's just the start, son. Town's throwing a potluck at the creek Saturday. You're the guest of honor. Bring your rod. Ethan's got a new lure with your name on it. Sam managed a shy grin. Yes, sir. Lisa ruffled his hair, the first casual touch she'd risked. Welcome to the chaos, Samuel James. You're stuck with us now. As they walked to the car, Sam's hand stayed in Emma's. The birth certificate safe in her purse, the courthouse steps warm beneath their feet. 6 months of temporary felt like the first solid brick in a foundation that would last. Durham's boots thudded on the new boards. Afternoon, folks. Got something official. Emma's stomach dipped. Sam pressed against her hip. State's closing the Blackwell file. Durham said, voice low but steady. Charges stuck, felony neglect, endangerment. No appeals. They're done. Sam's breath hitched. Emma's hand found his shoulder. That mean? He whispered. Means are never coming for you, Durham said. And the county's fast-tracking permanent guardianship. Judge Wilson wants a final hearing in September. Paperwork's already in motion. Lisa set the measuring tape down. No biological claims. None surfaced. Birth certificate's the only record. Samuel James Harlow's a ghost otherwise. He looked at Sam. Soon to be Matthews if the judge signs off. Sam's eyes went wide, then glassy. For real? For real, son? Durham ruffled the boy's hair. Awkward, but sincere. Millerville's claiming you permanent. Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. September, then. September, Durham confirmed. Till then, keep fixing doors and raising hell in a good way. He tipped his hat and left him on the porch, cherrywood samples forgotten. Sam stared at the driveway long after the cruiser vanished. Matthews, he tested soft. Samuel James Matthews. Emma pulled him close. Sounds like home to me. Emma turned the brass key between her fingers, the metal still warm from Sam's pocket. One for each of us, he repeated, softer now, eyes on the new cherry door. Lisa took hers, the key catching the sun like a small flame. Guess this means we're official, she said, voice cracking on the last word. Sam slipped his key onto a length of twine, nodding it twice. Never had my own before. Emma knelt, eye level. You do now, and it opens more than a door. He nodded, solemn, then broke into the grin that still surprised her every time. Inside, the house smelled of fresh varnish and possibility. The envelope from Durham lay sealed on the kitchen table, no longer urgent. Whatever ghosts it held could wait. The living had work to do. That evening they hung the old warped door in the barn, a relic of what had been. Sam ran his hand over the splintered oak one last time, then let it go. Cherry for the future, he said. Emma locked the new door behind them, the click solid and sure. 3 keys, 3 heartbeats, 1 home. Outside, the mountains kept their ancient watch, and the porch light glowed steady against the coming dark. Lisa's fingers traced the grain of the railing, slow, deliberate. I'm giving notice at the Charlotte firm, she said. End of January. Emma turned, the December wind tugging at her scarf. You're leaving? Moving to practice here. Full time. Lisa met her eyes, steady. The Millerville office is doing better than projected. And she glanced at Sam, who was tamping soil around the sapling's roots with the flat of the shovel. I don't want to miss any more of this. Emma's breath clouded in the cold. Your corner office, the partnership track. Paper titles, Lisa said. This is real equity. She nodded toward the boy, now standing back to admire the straight trunk. He calls me Lise when he thinks I'm not listening. I want to earn the rest of the name. Sam looked up, sensing the shift. Trees in, he called. Roots will sleep good till spring. Lisa smiled, the kind that reached her eyes for the first time in years. Perfect timing, she said. We'll all put down deeper ones together. Emma slipped an arm around each of them, the 3 silhouettes framed against the winter bare ridge. The little oak stood quiet between them, patient, already reaching. Home, rooted and growing. Emma rested her hands on the cool windowsill, the checkers clack and laughter behind her steady heartbeat. The oak sapling stood sentinel in the yard, roots already knitting into the same soil that had held her grandfather's house, her parents' dreams, her own childhood. Now it cradled Sam's future, too. Lisa's voice rose in mock outrage. You king me again? That's 3 in a row. Sam's answer was pure delight. You taught me the triple jump, Lise. Your own fault. Emma smiled. Lise, the nickname had slipped out one Saturday in October, and Lisa had let it stay. The adoption decree lay open on the mantel, the ink still crisp. Samuel James Matthews. Mother, Emma Ruth Matthews. Witness, Lisa and Matthews. She traced the raised seal with a fingertip, the way Sam had traced his birth certificate months ago. Paper could not measure what had grown here, but it guarded it all the same. Outside, the first star pricked the indigo sky. Inside, the house glowed, warm wood, warm voices, warm light. The cherry door stood firm against the winter wind, 3 keys on 3 hooks by the frame. Sam bounded in, cheeks flushed. Your move, Mom. Lisa's down to 2 pieces. Emma turned, the word mom still new enough to sparkle. Give me 30 seconds to admire my tree, she said. Sam slipped beside her, shoulder to shoulder now. It'll be taller than the porch by the time I'm 16, he predicted. Maybe 20 feet by the time I bring my own kid here. The casual certainty in his voice, asterisk my own kid, here asterisk, wrapped around Emma's heart like the quilt on his bed. Lisa appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, grinning. If you two are done moon-gazing, the board's waiting. Loser does dishes. Sam darted past her. That's you, Lise. Emma lingered a moment longer, watching the oak settle into its first winter night. Roots deep, branches patient, ready to leaf when spring called. She closed the curtain, locked the cherry door, and followed the sound of family into the light.